Well, hello everyone. My name is Sarah, and I am the Community Engagement Intern for Hoosier Interfaith Power and Light. And I will be presenting on Energy Stewards, and Ray and Warren will be my co-speakers. So here's the agenda for today's webinar. I'll be doing a brief introduction for Energy Stewards and also the Thriving Faith Communities program that HIPPL is piloting. And then I will be going into success stories with congregations and their experiences with Energy Stewards. And then I will give the floor to Ray to talk about HIPPL's experience with Energy Stewards. And then Warren will speak about Energy Stewards in much more detail, and then we'll have time for questions. So what is the Thriving Faith Communities program? It is an initiative that is available for congregations to join in support of the Thrive Indianapolis Plan, which is a plan that the Indianapolis Office of Sustainability created to further advance sustainability in Indianapolis. And the Thriving Faith Communities program aims to reduce the energy consumption of congregations by at least 25% over the next 3 years, and to hopefully encourage their congregants to do the same. And this program uses Energy Stewards to keep track, and HIPPL is here for guidance and to ensure accountability. So how will the congregations benefit from joining the Thriving Faith Communities? They'll be able to develop and live into faith-based values around their care for creation. They will significantly reduce their utility bills, which frees funds for mission and ministry. It will help engage people in congregation with a passion for the environment in new and exciting ways. And it will allow for people to participate in a community-wide effort to be a resilient and sustainable community. It will reduce carbon emissions in the city of Indianapolis, which improves the public health and the health of the planet. And it will help them develop relationships with people and congregations that are engaged in similar work. So what is Energy Stewards? It is a program that makes energy use easy to understand. It engages participants to take action to reduce financial and environmental costs across a range of property types. It uses a cloud-based web platform that efficiently spreads energy improvement actions and allows you to view the results. And it easily integrates into existing energy management programs, such as Portfolio Manager. So why would your congregation benefit from using Energy Stewards? Well, for one, conserving utilities saves money that can be used for congregational programs. And two, it cuts out waste, which helps reduce many forms of pollution, from the air and water contamination that creates health hazards to greenhouse gases that contribute to climate change. So now I'll be talking about some success stories from congregations that I interviewed in the Indiana area. I reached out to Unitarian Universalist Church of Indianapolis, Downey Avenue Christian Church, and the Unitarian Universalist Church of Bloomington to ask them questions about their experience with Energy Stewards, and the responses will be shown in the upcoming slides. So what made them decide to use Energy Stewards was a lot. For one congregation, it was a good way for them to keep track of the energy usage and costs. It allowed them to track solar panel output and to integrate their output into the overall energy consumption. For another congregation, the co-chairs were a part of the Creation Care Network, and with the initiatives that were taken with that network, the program fit in nicely with the steps that were involved with using Energy Stewards. For another congregation, they had been energy certified since 2015, and they had taken part in grants that were used to make the congregations more energy efficient. And the Energy Stewards program seemed like a way to keep the information organized. And many congregations who used the program saw a decrease in spending. For one congregation, energy conservation efforts helped them reduce their costs by about half, which saved them approximately $7,000 a year. And for another congregation, there was a reduction in the energy costs by 11% to 13% just by implementing solar panels. And there were many things that were surprising about using Energy Stewards. For one, it had a lot of features, and there's more to it that meets the eye, which many people may not be taking full advantage of. For another congregation, it was the fact that their congregation score qualified them initially for an Energy Star rating. And for another congregation, they found that there was not a steep learning curve because it's similar to tracking your utility usage in Portfolio Manager. Some of the biggest challenges that came when using Energy Stewards was building a team specifically to work in this area, along with educating the congregation on how to efficiently use and take advantage of equipment that could be programmed. In order to solve these challenges on their own, one congregation asked individuals for help. Constant communication with the whole congregation was extremely valuable, and another congregation followed instructions on operational equipment, which was necessary for adjusting settings, and they also utilized apps, which made it easier to keep track of what was being done. The last question I asked them is, what should other people know about the Energy Stewards program? And one congregation said that there is much more to it than just data and graphs, and that it provides suggestions and resources for the church staff and congregations to reduce their energy usage, which save them money, but also help reduce their carbon emissions. And that is the end of that. So I will give the floor to Ray to talk about Hippel's experience with Energy Stewards.
Hey, I had to go back and do a little thinking about this, but it turns out that Hippel in 2013 got a grant for solar panels, which we then helped 6 congregations put on solar panels. But one of the requirements of the grant was that we needed to reduce our energy consumption in our facilities by at least 25%, in addition to whatever we were able to accomplish with the solar panels. And so that meant that we had to keep track of our energy data, and we had to send it into Hippel on a quarterly basis so they could track and see how we were doing. And then Hippel, on the other hand, had to work on this data that came in and correct it for heating and cooling degree days so that they could be able to compare one year to another. And we found that to be pretty onerous as far as just getting the data, getting people to send it in regularly, and then going through some arithmetic. So in 2015, not 19, 2015, we heard about Energy Stewards from Ohio Interfaith Power and Light, and they said they were using them for some time. And so early in 2016, we got in touch with Warren at Energy Stewards and basically decided we wanted to work with them. We have, when you work with Energy Stewards, the way we had opportunities to populate a whole database of things that could be done, suggestions that people could follow to save energy. And so we have over 100 ideas embedded in Energy Stewards at this point that any congregation can go to and see if they apply to them, or if they do, they can decide whether they're going to do them right now or allocate money for them in the future. And when they're done, they can check them off. Some of these things are things that have to be done routinely. Some of these things are once and done. And all those over 100 steps are things that we teach in our Using Energy Prudently class for people to save energy in their congregations. Anyway, it's been very valuable, and I think I was one of the people in the comments section that Sarah put on that said that we as a group haven't taken advantage of all the opportunities that are embedded in Energy Stewards at this point. And so I'm looking forward to getting a cadre of folks signed up and where we really can learn about all the benefits and then take advantage of that. So now I'm going to just jump to my congregation. We have been in this energy conservation business for some time. In fact, our base year is 2008. So that's quite a ways back. But I can tell you, just this morning, I went in and I checked to see how we have changed over that time period. And as of today, we have saved our 38% of the average energy that we used in our 2008 time period. 38%. We've been talking about 25. 25 is pretty easy. 38 gets a little more difficult, but I know personally that we have a way to go. I surprised myself when I looked at this. We save $11,600 a year now compared to what we did in 2008. For my little church, that's a lot of money. We presently spend 31 cents per square foot for our facility. And one of the things that we have that we know is a little different than other churches, we have a school that occupies 2 and sometimes 3 of our buildings throughout the whole week. So we're not just a church at this point. And we can tell you that our carbon dioxide emissions have been reduced by 52% over those years. And presently we emit 44 tons per year of carbon dioxide. And I know a lot of that has to do with our solar panels as far as the reduced carbon emissions. Anyway, our Energy Star number is 85. I was surprised to see that because we were hovering around the 75 for a while. And this morning when I looked, it was 85. I don't know if that's a reflection of having everything turned off for about 2 months now or not. But anyway, Sarah, that's what I have to say. And I'm happy to answer any questions when we get to that point.
Thank you for sharing all that information, Ray. So I will now give the floor to Warren to talk about Energy Stewards with much more detail.
Okay, and I will click on share my screen here. So we'll share that and open the PowerPoint up, and hopefully that all works well. So thank you, Sarah and Ray, for setting this up, and thank you, Hoosier Interfaith, for being such wonderful leaders on this work. We are delighted to be partnering with groups like yours that are, and the faith-based groups particularly, they have a passion that reaches out beyond dollars and cents, and it's more for a care for creation type work that brings it forward. So I'll run through. I want to just, first of all, I start with a little bit of an overview of kind of why we're here and how we got into this, but I think we all know this, we live in a unique time. I just checked our carbon emissions here on Earth, the parts per million, it's 417, even with the pandemic that we have that shut everything down. We're at record carbon levels in our Earth, and you know, we see the effects of it right now. Global warming is here. We're seeing the effects, and they're only going to get worse as it goes forward. And one of my favorite slides, this tiny blue planet out there as seen from Saturn. Good planets are hard to find, so there's really kind of no place to go, but right here. Our background is, my partner and I, Kevin Little, we are really come out of a consulting background and systems thinking and organizational change. And we've worked many years now with a number of organizations. In the past maybe dozen years, we've gotten more focused on environmental work and how to drive change. And this will all result in our work with Energy Stewards. But we look at, how do we get change where we want to change? We have ideas for change and we execute them. It brings it around and around. It also brings it to the quality improvement plan cycle going forward. You plan something, you do it, you see what works, what doesn't work, and you act on it. We start with 3 simple questions. What are we trying to accomplish? How do we know our change is an improvement? And for us, that's energy use in a building. And what are some ideas that we can try? And also, we found what's really helpful in driving change and whatever you're trying to do is, are there pioneers out there doing the work? Are we creating new ideas, or do we know what to do already? And are there best practices out there that we can start to emulate? That's a big thing. And a lot of this is, we know what to do, we just need more people doing it. We find that deadlines help a lot. For Hoosier Interfaith, I really suggest that what you do is have a year-long program or a 2-year-long program. I guess the new one is 3 years. I think that's great, but have a beginning, a middle, and end. And that makes the important more urgent when you realize that there's a deadline. And then regular reviews of what did we do, what's worked, what didn't work, what's next, etc. All of this background is really built into the Energy Stewards platform. It's sort of in the heart of it, what's behind here. And then we think it's really helpful to work together. So to the extent that you have many churches learning from each other, working from each other, challenging each other in terms of what can be done and sharing it with each other, you can drive the change a whole lot faster going forward. We do work with schools, religious congregations. Those are the two big ones where we have people paying attention, and we find that any building can teach a lot if you pay attention to it, and that's what Energy Stewards tries to do. And energy use in a building, it connects both dollars, which, you know, Ray highlighted how many dollars they've saved at UU Indianapolis, and also the CO2. So you have the double-edged sword there. It's also easily measurable as it runs through a building. So we find that that's useful. So Energy Stewards was designed to be sort of building centric, looking at the whole building, the meters, the electric use, the gas, et cetera, that powers that building, and what's it doing as a whole. And when there are certain metrics that we look at, this is sort of an overview of it, but you can look at the change from the baseline energy use, who's really improved a lot in most recent 12 months of data compared to the 12 months in the baseline period. So we highlight that, we put that success story at the top. The actions taken, who's doing what in their organizations, the Energy Star ratings, you can take a look at those, the cost per square foot, and the last complete month of it. And so that's kind of an overview of the dashboard. But when a individual logs in, when an individual logs in, they go to a home page. So when any building member or building leader logs in, they can go to their own particular dashboard, and we'll go to Bloomington's live page shortly. But this is typical of what you see when you log in. You can get at a glance, you can see what your Energy Star score is doing. This is Taylor Chapel in Fort Wayne. Energy Star scores on the 0 to 100 scale. Comparing apples to apples performance with congregations from across the country. Their score has gone up into the upper quartile from looks like about 35%, which is a tremendous approval.
Yeah.
I know they installed a big solar array there, which has made a difference, but there are real leaders, and you can see what their energy cost has gone down in the past 12 months compared to the baseline period. So you get at a glance on that. There also, as we mentioned before, and as Ray talked about, a certain amount of action tables that you can take a look at. This is built into and customizable to the Hoosier group. This one happens to be one for a school, but they're all very similar. And these are ideas. Again, we're not inventing everything. We know what effective practices are. And we say, well, try these out, see what works, what doesn't work. And there's also a way to share information. And this is rarely used for Hoosier Interfaith Energy Stewards, but you can post information about things you're learning. It goes out to all the other members in the participants in the team, and it helps inspire them to learn so they don't all have to reinvent on their own selves. They can help each other. You can add pictures, you can add information. This really worked for us, and this did not work for us. So there's a lot of information you can share there, and that goes into a library in the forum section. And then also importantly, the Energy Stewards provides you can see your data over time. electrical use going down. These are months, calendar use months going down over time. You can compare yourself to what other congregations are doing. And again, this is just by way of information. As I mentioned, Taylor Chapel has gone up tremendously. Well, what's their story? What's going on there? Why is that the case? What is going on at Eastgate Christian Church? Are they using their building more intensely? Are there some mechanical equipment there that they ought to take a look at? Here's UU Bloomington, Molly's Church. They are leaders in the pack nationwide in terms of what they're doing. Energy, I think they're at 100 or 99 or 99.9 in the Energy Star score. They have a lot to share and to inspire others in terms of what they're doing and helping each other along. So you can see how you're doing compared to others. You can ask questions, and this has really helped on asking questions. And you can compare different size churches because it's all energy use, total energy use per square foot, weather normalized. So it adjusts for different changes in seasons, one winter to the next. It's on a per square foot basis, so you can compare a performance in a 5,000 square foot church with a performance in a 13,000 square foot church and see how they're doing on an apples to apples basis. So with that, let's dive into Molly's church. And is the live shot showing the screenshot? Okay, Molly, there you are. Again, this is, I set up a user for myself so I could log in as a building leader. So when I signed in, this is the page that I came to, my page. And again, you can see at a glance the top things. This is the monthly energy. This is both the carbon aspect of it and also the dollar aspect of it, which everyone is really interested in. And you can look at it on a calendar month basis. So in January of 2019, they spent about $764 on both electricity and gas. And in January 2020, it was $671 on that. So that helps to look on that. The energy cost for the, let's see what the baseline year is here.
You have 2016 right now.
Yeah, 2016. You can see that they've, on the most recent 12 months, they've saved over $2,000 compared to the baseline year. Their carbon is lower. Their energy use is lower, so you get a glance in there. You can click on project notes, which they've kept here. They sent some goals, which is really important. I think in terms of how you engage team members, what are our goals? What are we trying to do? If you have multiple members at a church, they can all log into this page too. So I know churches change memberships quite a bit, but this can be your history. You can have notes that you can expand here. So this becomes sort of a record of what you've been doing there if it's kept up. And if you have new people on the team, you can go to that. The heart of this really is so many people. Let me just go first to the charts. You can view more charts on this page, which again is energy use on a monthly basis. You can see both the dollars and the use month to month to month. You can scroll back and forth here. You can see elements. One of our theories is if you try some changes out, what's going to make a difference? And so the charts are linked to these action tables. And we learned that in this month of, I think, August 2018, they installed solar panels to supply electricity. So they made a note of that. That was part of the action tables of what they could do. They added a note here, a special event. They expanded their solar array at that point in time. So you can see the actions and how they tie to the results on here. And I think that's really an important part in that. There are some odd metric tons of CO2 going up here. I'm not quite certain why that is, but they go down here. The Energy Star score, the on-site solar production, you can download all this information. But again, I want to go back to really what the heart of this is, and that is the action table. And again, the theory is that if we're trying to make change in our organizations, what can we test out? What are some ideas here that might work at our congregation that appear to have worked elsewhere? And again, in Hoosier Interfaith Energy Stewards, they've established a whole table. I think, Ray, you said there are 101 ideas on here of a checklist that you can go through. Some of these are relevant to particular congregations, some are not. But it gives you an idea of what you can do with that. You can also, I know people have trouble working on a website. It is kind of a pain. I'm a little old-fashioned myself, but you can download your action table to a print off, and you can make copies for your team members if you want to take it to a team meeting. So that's very helpful.
That is helpful, Warren. Excuse me for interrupting. I kept looking for where I could do that, but now I see it's up there in that green type. That's good.
Right there. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
And it just, you click on it and it downloads it into your computer. And then also you can, so these are your, you can go to your action table. You can see what you've done here, what the dates are. You can check and see who's logged in. Molly, are you the only one on your team there at Bloomington? Well, you need more team members. I just signed in here, so I'm part of your team now. You can update now at Hoosier Interfaith. We, Rapid Improvement Associates, log in to the utility accounts for which we have username and passwords to sign in the utility accounts and update their energy use data monthly. There's a little extra charge for that. I forget what it is exactly, but that can be done. And also, it's really quite easy for you to do it yourself. You can go to update your meter data. You can click on that. You can add a new record. You have a start date on your bill, end date, amount of kilowatt hours you've used, the cost, and the update, and then you just save that, and that keeps it up to date. And I think, Molly, you have been updating your solar power information. We don't have access to that, but you've been keeping that up. Where we find that the oil and or natural gas and the electric use is current, but the solar data is not, we'll simply, to try to keep all the Energy Star stuff up to date, we'll simply put a 1 and a 1, just a nominal thing, and you can update that to what it is.
I think I put in the ones myself because they changed the internet at the church just about the time when we couldn't, it's locked, I can't get in. So we're having it fixed next week.
Thank you, Molly, because that's exactly what we do with the other congregations. And some of the other congregations are miserably behind. They have some solar data in there. And what happens in the calculations of the Energy Star score, it looks for the last complete month. So if you have natural gas, you have electricity, and you have a solar meter, if the solar meter has only been updated through June of 2019, the last complete month, the last complete Energy Star score is going to be June of 2019, even though all your electric use, all your natural gas use is up to date through, say, May of 2020. So we're just trying to keep that up to date, and to the extent that this can be more accurate, that's the better. I think that's the key thing on that. Again, there's a forum section that's rarely used. I see someone tested it, but this is meant to be a library where you could search on here. When you post something, when you add information, it gets added to here. And again, the idea is that we can all learn from each other a whole lot quicker than anyone else alone. So it's a way to share that information. Again, it's underused at Hoosier Interfaith. And you do have access to some of the other project partners who we have, so there's more information in there too. I think those are the main elements on it. I can, are there questions at this point or anything else you'd like to see? Otherwise, I'll turn it over for discussion.
This is Molly. I'd like to know what kind of things people put in the post. What kind of things should we be posting? I wanted to mention that our building has been closed since March 8th. So,
okay.
And I, except for 3 hours a week.
Okay. So one thing, Molly, just as you say that, what I would do on your chart here, I would add a special event here.
Okay,
and say, our building closed
you can do it.
due to pandemic. And it's March of 2020.
Right.
Okay. So that just adds a note. And we're going to show that on the energy graphs. But if I don't know what kind of picture you would have in this, but you could add that also to it, or a document or a link or something like that. So that will go on to your chart, and there it is there. If you want to share something in this case, you might just send out a message to all the other participants on communication and say, and maybe you have a question. How are others managing their buildings at this point in time? Could you help share what you're learning from it? You could post that tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Everyone will get that headline. Some people may choose to respond to it, and then you can help build that information. So you start to build the library there. Your solar panels, you have experience with that. Maybe you have a really good solar installer or an inverter, or you had to change out an inverter. And what you've learned on that, you could have information about that. Anything that relates to that. How you're building this into your worship at the church. Maybe there are ways, or if you have questions about how do you involve other team members, or we're having trouble on this, could you share some of your best practices on getting more active participation on this at your congregation? So anything, what's working well, or what questions you might have, that would be useful.
Molly, while we're talking about it, why don't you put out a post to everybody and say, we chose to put a marker in our Energy Stewards when we had our last service. I haven't done that, and that's a great idea, because what I find really helpful is be able to go back and find out, when did that furnace problem happen, or when did the water heater spring a leak and we had to pump out the basement. Those kind of things you won't remember, but boy, having it here is just dandy.
So Warren, would you go over again exactly where you clicked on that to add it to the chart?
Oh, for your chart? Yes, I'd be happy to. This happens to be UU Indianapolis, would be exactly the same for you. So you, well, I won't make it confusing. I'll go to Bloomington. On your charts, view details, right there. At the top in the upper right-hand corner is an event that says Mark Special Event. And you can use that for a special event. Someone did that. You actually did that in 2018 when you added initially added the solar panels. But that's a place that it's helpful to keep track of things. Also, when you do something like that, it gets added to your project notes. So again, to go back on your home page, there's an area called Project Notes. Click on that. And here are the special events. And right now, March 2020, our building closed. There's that note. You can click on that. It'll go to the detail on that. So you can keep an array of that. And that's what Ray is talking about too.
So Warren,
that information.
Sorry to interrupt, but go back at one more time, because it's hard to follow your mouse and see what you're clicking on. So
you can all see the Bloomington homepage, right?
Right.
Project Notes, right underneath our scorecard.
Right.
Click on it.
Okay.
And at the top is a link where you can update this information. So if you, at the top of this Project Notes, you can go in there and edit this information and save it.
Okay. And is this print outable?
I don't think so, but you could
take a screenshot.
take a screenshot.
Okay.
That's a good question. My partner and I are not programmers. We don't know how to do that, so we have to ask people to do it. And they're always, it's a dark rabbit hole that you go down when you think about bells and whistles that you can add. And that's a perfect example.
Yeah.
You know, you ought to be able to print out your project notes, but you could probably take a screenshot and print that out too. So there are ways around it. Here I noticed on the activity, the recent activity, this one is underlined on Bloomington. And that means that there's a note involved in that. So I'm going to click on that. It'll take me to it. And the note on here is expect this additional array to cover 95% of our electric usage. That's what Molly entered back in 2018. So we got a record of it. And it's interesting to put that down. But I saw that because it was underlined on the actions that you've taken.
Huh. That's what I said when my comments about there's so much more in this than I know about or that I take advantage of. So we're going to all have to become really expert in it.
Yeah, and the main thing I suggest, and let me just go back to my slides a little bit. I can come back to this. Oops. You know, what I suggest is to use the site.
Yeah.
You know, it should be, and just look at the charts. Just look at them. Is the data up to date? Are the data up to date or not? Click through the different tabs and see what you see. Post a note. You know, update an action item. Just give it a try, and to figure it out, and to engage others to the extent that you can. I was just thinking one thing that, Sarah, we can do this. Once you get the recording of this link, we'll post it to Energy Stewards. And I'm going to give the screen back over to Sarah. Or should I keep, do you have questions about the site anymore? We could go back to it. Okay. Sarah, this recording, we'll get the link for this, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to post it to the Energy Stewards Forum. And that way, tomorrow morning, everyone will see that they will be able to watch this show, this recording themselves. And
Sounds
that's an
like a great
example of how
idea.
you can build it.
All right, well, thank you, Warren, for sharing all that information. If there's any questions in general about the presentation and the information we had, we can go ahead and ask it right now.
I was just going to say something. I've just, anyway, I'm chair of building and grounds at my church, and grounds in this time of year has been a headache, but I've finally gotten some help. But meanwhile, I asked our administrator if I could have a separate website where I talk about Energy Star, renewable energy, and permaculture. And that was I just got the link this morning, and that's what I've been working on this morning, is creating my own pages. It's on the home page. So now anyone who goes to our home page will see those three links, and nothing's there yet. But I think that will make it more accessible. And I'm just thinking that maybe I could put a link to our Energy Stewards website. I guess that would be under the Energy Star, maybe, because Energy Star, what I'm thinking of is the things that we've done and are doing to try to keep down our energy use.
Right. And Energy Stewards is fully integrated with Energy Star Portfolio Manager. So the scores that you see and everything else you have. Also, Molly, I would suggest for the other participants in Hoosier Interfaith is posting those three links if Bloomington's willing to, and saying, we found these to be really interesting. We'd like to share them with you, and you might want to copy them too. And again, that will inspire some activity.
Yeah.
Has the chance to.
Molly, when you have content on there, let us know and we can share it on our social media as well.
It'll be within the week. I think I just have a lot of other things to do too. And my 3.5-year-old granddaughter is on the phone or on video with my husband, because this is when she could call. She lives in Seattle. And she texted us this morning that My grandparents are worried about me, so I need to talk to them. It's really her mother we're worried about.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, so who should I email when I've got it posted? Just to you? Okay. I think I got your email. Thanks.
Well, John and Jeff, you're pretty new to this. What do you think?
I think it's great, and I'm just trying to, Ray, you know that for the last, 3 years or so, I've been trying to get my church involved in this, and we finally got off the dime and are starting to move. And this is going to help because we've got some computer fans in the congregation that'll eat this up, I think.
Great.
Well, and for hello everybody. I know some of you, and I think Dory, I need to call and talk to you about. We've been debating for the longest time about applying. I haven't gotten any interest in any other churches yet from Hendricks County, and we've got a climate action team, and we have 5 people, but we did start a bigger group that is for non-denominational on climate. We did an energy audit, and I don't know if Ray might be familiar with our church. We don't have a lot of land, so it's a old building. It's a designated historic building, so we can't do a lot to it. And we've only got 25 regular attendees, and we don't have the people. I mean, we've got some good people that want to do something, but when we did the the infrared inspection, it's an old building and the concrete block walls are not insulated. To do something with that, is beyond cost effective. Until we move to another building and with all the thing, unless we grow. So it seems like our hands are tied in what we want. We want to do better, but we just can't. And I was halfway through the application for the Energy Steward until I found out that, well, if we have any savings, we could give 10% of them back, right? But I can't commit to it, so I couldn't finish the application. So. But this is all good stuff. Has anybody heard of a system called Sense? SENSE. I have it on my home, and it works off of 2 clamp-on ammeters around your power leads to your church. And you can put another 2 power leads on your solar and over time, it figures out everything that's turning on and off. And it tells you when your refrigerator's running. It tells you when all these different things, and then you can track it by percentages. And I think that's what you're trying to do with the system to some extent, trying to determine your usage of different things that are costing you money. And it's great, and I'm excited, and I want to get involved with Hipple. And Dory, I'll call you tomorrow or something.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Yeah, thanks for that recommendation for Sense too. We definitely.
It's $300 is all it costs, and it helps you just by watching what's turning on and off. It makes me go turn them off.
So Jeffrey, you talked about. I appreciate that you have a building that may not be able to be rehabilitated to any sense at all for a variety of reasons. But I'm thinking you also have an opportunity. Your members of your congregation all have homes. You just talked about practices you're going through in your homes. All of your members use electricity and natural gas, and they produce carbon on behalf of that. So that could be your activity? How do you spread that among your members
Absolutely.
and reduce? I mean, that's another way to where there might be opportunity.
And I think that's something that, you know, as HIPPO, we also want to figure out how to support that. And so maybe getting some feedback from you, Jeff, on the best way to support your folks would be really
Sure.
helpful.
Well, I put it off long enough. I've been so busy with climate stuff, but I want to get back with you and talk further, because this is all now. Between now and November 3rd, everybody's trying to work for the voting, because unless we affect that, it's lost. So
So
it's
I'd
all
like to ask,
good. We'll get there. Thank you
Oh, yeah.
very much for letting me speak. I came in
Sure.
late. I apologize.
no, I wanted to ask you one more thing. So when you were working on the application and you saw that part about we would like to invite and ask congregations to tithe their savings with HIPPO. So let's say that your congregation, because this is going to take a year, first of all, to get some data to see what's going on. At the end of the year, it says, oh, okay, we have saved $1,000 in energy. We would like
Give you
Hendricks
100.
County to send us a check for $100.
Right.
Now, it seems like that would be a pretty easy thing to do. And one of the things that allows you to do this is if you have this database that says, here's how much we've been spending a year. Let's say it's $8,000 or $10,000, whatever the number is. And then next year it's 9,000. Well, you might think, oh, well, maybe it was a warm year. Well, yeah, it might have been, but because of Energy Stewards, it's energy intensive, it's weather corrected. We can really sort this down to say, no, this is truly, you have done something to make a difference. And so if you've saved 1,000, we're thinking, and this is, I'm asking more than I'm telling, we're thinking that, yeah, if it's obvious to somebody, and if I always tell people when we're starting into this project, we'd like you to put another spot on your budget somewhere where you actually account for energy savings. Because now, let's say at the end of that first year, you actually had that filled out and there was $1,000 in there compared to what it was, the year before. Now we have $1,000 we didn't have before. What are we going to do with it? And since it's there, you might say, well, first of all, we're going to give HIPPO their 100. And now we have $900 left that we didn't have before. What could we use that $900 for to get more the next year? So it's a little convoluted, but
No.
there are congregations that do this at this point.
Well, I don't want to take up your valuable time, but I suggested, have we gone in and adjusted all the programmable thermostats during this time of quarantine and the building's not being used? And the pushback I got was, well, we need to leave it at the right temperature. It might get too humid, and so I don't win.
So what Molly and I should be doing is saying what we've done in our congregation. We just turned everything off. I mean, first I said turn everything off, and I finally got pushback from the music director that I can't let the piano go below 50. This was earlier in the spring, and so I said, okay, I'm not going to fight you on that. But we have everything turned off now. And then I was watching another webinar the other day, and this was a month ago, and they said, turn off your water heaters, for heaven's sakes. Nobody needs hot water. So all our water heaters are turned off at this point. Now, here's another thing that Molly and I should probably put in a webinar or in our communication is that we want to make sure everybody knows that before you go back and start occupying your buildings, you need to flush your water, because we're going to get people with Legionnaire's disease if we're not careful.
Right.
So we have to do that kind of thing, flush out our water heaters, flush out our lines so that we're going to be safe once we get back.
You can also, let me just speak up, you can also add these notes and these ideas to the forum section in Energy Stewards, and it goes out to all the participants.
That's what I was inferring we should do.
There are 2 webinars. I've watched one about HVAC and one about water in your buildings. And we decided, based on talk with, I convene Earth Care, which is the Interfaith Power and Light affiliate, that we should be flushing our water more often. And you start with the cold water right near where it comes into the building, flush the toilets every couple of weeks. This is what our plumber also said we should be doing. So that's what we're doing. We may be closed for a year.
Yeah.
So the UUA has suggested till May 31st of 2021.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we've decided not to go back for the year also. I've got to revisit that with my folks.
But we have a lower level that tends to smell bad already in the summer. So we are running the air conditioner. We just had the people come in and service and check. So luckily that's electric in that area. And our solar panels are going to more than cover that. We're going to have a huge credit. We already have a $500 credit for May.
Yeah, the other thing, and Ray, you may know this, we've got a lovely big pipe organ in our church. And that's part of the pushback was, you know, we've got to maintain the humidity and all this type of thing. But the only time we use it is for a yearly maintenance. I mean, we don't have anybody that can play it. And it's been debated about whether we sell it, and it's another story.
So Ray Mady had an article back when we were doing workshops about that. So you could forward that to Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff, the article is from the American League of Organ Builders, and they say organs like it cold.
Really?
What they don't like is low humidity, and you get low humidity in the middle of the winter when the furnace is on.
So it's worse. So we ought to shut it off.
That's right. Yeah.
Great. I could use that. Thank you. And
Okay.
I'll bring up the water heaters and you said, Ray, you're at 50 degrees now?
We have everything turned off.
Yeah.
Period. We're the only thing, as to Molly's point, one of our buildings has a basement type place in it, and so we're running 2 dehumidifiers there.
So we're running a dehumidifier, but we're also running some AC, you know, when it gets really hot, which it probably doesn't get as hot in the lower level, but.
Takes humidity out.
Thank you. I'm sorry to divert this discussion, but it got me.
This is what it's here for, Jeff. Yeah, this is why we're here. And we did want to say, I think we'll probably set up a tutorial for applying for funding for Center for Congregations. They have some money. We want to help you get onto Energy Stewards, and they said that they've got some funding to help with that. So maybe we'll try doing that in a couple weeks.
I don't know whether everybody knows this or not. They probably do, but Molly and Ray have a good thing going with the drains down the basement, and that the dehumidifier draining into those drains are keeping the traps wet. But if you let your traps dry out because you aren't using your plumbing, you're going to get sewer gas coming in. That water is a seal in those traps, so you might want to think about that.
Yeah. Sarah, you're going to take over again?
Oh, I'm good. This is like discussion time, so it's perfect.
Do we want to try to call it a time at like 3 o'clock?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
Can I ask a question of the people that have put solar panels on their roof? Okay, we're looking at solar panels that have a life expectancy of 25 years or so. And you may have put on, the last time you roofed your building, you may have put on 30-year fiberglass shingles, but your end dates don't line up. Before you put on your panels, Did you rip off your roof so that your end dates would come out close to the same?
We did. We luckily had a bequest, and we put that toward raised seam metal roofs, a light color to reflect away the heat, because panels do better if it's not hot. So you don't want a black roof. We've just been fortunate. We have about, I guess now about 550 members. So compared to Jeff's, we've got a lot more funds. We have a lot of people really passionate about this. And the reason we added more panels in 2017 was because of the legislation that reduced the amount of time where you can get net metering at the full amount. So we raised $43,000 in 11 days, and most of it the first day. I presented at the services, and I was just overwhelmed by people making pledges. We had pledge cards, and some people just wrote a check right then for $5,000. It was amazing. So if you can get people, I always feel like solar panels is the carrot. The rest of it is the work. But the grant that we worked on, what year was that? I guess we were working on in 2012.
2013, yeah.
We got it in 2013, but in the fall of 2012, we were working on, what to ask for. And we decided to ask people to reduce or show they had reduced their energy use by 25% and engage their congregations. And the solar panels were the carrot for that. And we now have, I know of at least 22 people that have solar on their homes in the congregation.
Wow.
But probably
What
than
church?
now.
What church are you with, Molly?
It's the Unitarian Universalist Church in Bloomington.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So John, at my church, you really do need to pay attention to this. We put our original panels on that Molly was just talking about in 2013, and the roof was it was only about, only 7 years old at that point. And just last year, we ended up getting leaks in that roof. It's over 100-year-old building, so the roof's kind of saggy. And I think the roof wasn't put on all that well. So we had to take our panels off and put them back up after we put a new roof on, and that's not inexpensive. So spend your money now if there's any question about your roof. Ideally, roofs under panels last longer if it's asphalt shingles. They're not taking a weather beating from hail and rain and all that, and the sun. But nevertheless, it's something to pay attention to. Yes.
I just added on to that to our church, and it was in 2008. It wasn't just, but. So we had, I felt like we had a new roof, but I'm thinking rip off the shingles just underneath where the panels are going, put new shingles on there.
That's an idea. Yep. That's a great idea. Well, Sarah, thank you for putting this together. When are you going to do it again?
We'll see you next month.
Okay.
For sure.
And Warren, I think I've never seen you present just as you did today. That front end helped me an awfully lot. It was very simple, and then you started taking us through the pages. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
And
did
that
I.
part of the presentation will be available, Jeff, on the
Yeah, because I missed that.
recording.
I'm
Yeah, we
looking
can get
forward
that.
to that. Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, I just want to thank everyone for their time, and I want to thank the presenters, Ray and Warren, for speaking. And I hope everyone has a good day today.
And our next event, you want to PR that, is on Monday.
Oh, yes. We're having a movie screening for the movie The Human Element this Monday at 6:30, if anyone wants to join.
So we'll be watching and then followed by a discussion.
Thank you all for your wonderful work. It's really important. Thank you.
All right, thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
See you all.
Thank you, Sarah.
I'm calling you, Dory.
All right, sounds good, Jeff. Thanks.
Thank you.